Hi, hello, welcome back to Techies. So, in order to thank our supporters, we thought of putting their names on our videos. So this week it is Mr. Naresh, one of our subscriber. Hi Naresh, thanks for being with us. And we record. I mean, we are expecting your continuous support in our forums. And if you want your names to be thanked, please do subscription of our channels. Thank you. So before I jump on to our videos, I would like to give you a declaration that whatever you are seeing in this video, it's completely for educational purpose, and don't do these changes. Don't try these things for any malicious activities. Okay, so uh, we 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 or I as a security administrator, I won't encourage malicious activities or hacking related activities, but you can do this for you to understand the things in a better way or in a realistic way or in a real time environment. I mean, in a real time experience. That's the reason I'm showing some of the informations from the internet, as well as I'll do some activities in my personal computer, and this is my personal computer, so it won't go. It will not affect you know uh, anyone else. But you don't try these things in others' computer. If you want to try it in your lab environment. Don't do this in your production environment or in other person's computers. Okay, that is completely unethical, and we don't support those things. Thank you. So let us jump on to the slide. So today we are going to discuss about uh, DNS. So DNS is it's a telephone directory or your contact list in your phones. So if you see your contact list will have a name. The name can be a complete actual name, or it can be a nickname which you gave to your friend, right? In the same way, in internet, so whatever you are trying to access or whatever you are accessing in internet, everything you are accessing using the using a name, right? Let it be your web application or your email applications or your videos. Everything whatever you are accessing in internet, you are accessing through a name, like youtube.com, gmail.com, and cisco.com, or bbc.com, cnn.com. So all these things are names which a human can understand, but the computers are not super smart like human. It cannot understand domain names. I mean, it cannot understand names. It understands only the IP address. So in order to be a bridge between an user to a computer is called DNS. So DNS is being a bridge to convert names into IP address. All right. So this model was actually created in 1980s when internet started coming up. Okay. So DNS is using an hierarchy based models. What does mean by hierarchy? I will explain you in the upcoming slides. So just for as of now, understand that DNS functioning in an hierarchical model. Okay. So when you learn about something related to network or systems, always try to remember the port numbers and the protocols, because they are crucial irrespective of your job. It can be a network admin, it can be a security admin, it can be a SOC professional. You need to know these three things, which is very important: the application name and its corresponding port numbers and protocols. Okay, so DNS is one of a unique protocol which use both protocols. So normally a protocol will use either TCP based model or UDP based model, but only I mean, not only DNS, but DNS is also one of a service which use both TCP and UDP. So where it use UDP is for an end user traffic. So being an end user, if you are trying to query your DNS server, then you will use UDP packet. So TCP communications was used between communication in DNS servers. When two DNS servers wanted to communicate with each other, they uses TCP protocol. So that is the reason DNS as a application uses both TCP and UDP in its communications. Okay, so now how the DNS is functioning. I mean, how the internet is working behind the screen. So far you see, I mean, you will see only your web content is loading, but you don't know exactly what is happening behind the screen, right? So this is what happening in the screen behind. So whenever you are trying to access a website, say for an example, we can understand that we are using google.com. So whenever you tries to access google.com, your laptop will check its local cache as the first point of place to check google.com's IP address, because your system is not that much capable to understand the domain names. So it needs an IP address. So it will try to get the IP address from your local cache. Okay, so if there is no cache information available in the local machine, it will look for the host files. So host files will be placed in etc host for Linux or Unix based systems, and in Windows systems it will be kept under system32 drivers folder, etc folder host. These host files, both files are just a plain text file, text file text file, which can be edited using any text editor, like in Microsoft, in Windows you can use Notepad. For Linux and Unix you can use Vim editors or any of your favorite editors to edit this DNS entry. So you mean to say, like, changing the DNS entry, you can get a different answer. I mean, you can get a different response. Yes, if you change your host file, you will get a different answer. So I will show you in a live environment on my computer. Please wait for another 5 minutes. Okay. So once, if the system doesn't have information in its host file, then it will look for the DNS server which is configured in this machine. So I'm configured this machine as a local DNS server. So this laptop will forward the query to this DNS server. Then the DNS server, the same process will repeats. It will check for local cache, let's check for local host file, and then it will configure its DNS server. So in this case, so if it is your organization will use a trusted public DNS server. It has been provided by your internet service provider. So this DNS server will forward the query to the ISP, and the same process will happen in the ISP end, and then it will forward to another server, and it will keep on forwarding the same. These things will forward until you get an answer. So I mean, the servers which are all forwarding the DNS queries will be called it as DNS regressive servers. So DNS regressive servers will forward the query until it reaches an authoritative server. Authoritative server is the server which is having actual DNS entry about your domain name, about your URL, about your host name, whatever you are trying to access. So authoritative server can be your local AD server if you are trying to access any of your local printer using hostname, or it can be a name server which is being promoted by your company. So what it does, I mean, what it is actually, we will see it in the upcoming slides. Okay, so once the request reaches the authoritative server gives a response back to the regressive servers, and then the request will be forwarded here, and then it will reach us to the local cache. As soon as a server receives a response, it will have it stored in its local cache. Whenever a server or desktop or laptop or a browser receives a DNS response, it will store those informations in its cache memory for the quick references. So if your DNS response was quick, then you can get your web applications very quickly. But there are some other factors which is available, but we will come to know. But this is a quick catch. I mean, a quick trick to get a faster page. If you need a faster page, then you have to have a local DNS entry. So this is how the DNS is working. And then the type of DNS server. So if you see here in this slide, you see server 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So these are all different type of DNS servers in the traffic flow. But from worldwide, if you see how the DNS application is structured, it's an hierarchical based, right? So the hierarchy, the first server will be the root server. Root server will be the first server. Whenever you are asking for a name resolution, root server will come into the picture. If your DNS server is not having any information about the DNS record, I mean, where it has to check, to whom it has to ask, or whom it has to refer, it will send the request to the root server. There are 13 root servers available in global, which has been managed by by internet associations. So you can find those links in the description page. I have given you the root server information details where you can go and see these 13 servers. Then the number 13 is actually not 13 physical servers. They are actually more servers, but they will be identified with the 13 different names or numbers using a routing called, using a communication method called Anycast. So whenever a request is forwarded to the 13 IP addresses or 13 servers, it will be responded by any of the server which is available in that group. So what is Anycast, Unicast, Multicast? We will give you a video for that. Okay, so far, I mean, at this moment, you can consider this as an Anycast. Anycast is nothing but there will be a question to anybody, like, if your teacher asks a question to the whole class, the person who knows the answer can tell the answer, right? It is not, I mean, it's a question to everybody. So who knows the answer can give the answer. That is how the Anycast communication will work. So whoever the server is free, it will give you the information. It will give you the information of TLD, top level domains. So actually your root server will not give you the exact answer. It will tell you to whom you have to contact in order to resolve this domain name. So based on your domain name, you have to contact any of these top level domains. Sorry, the top level domains can be, top level domains are .com, .org, .net, .in, .us, .uk, or .jp, and something else, .net. So these are all the top level domains. Okay, so based on that, you are say, for an example, you are trying to access google.com. So the google.com's top level domain is .com. So your DNS server then forward your queries to the .com server, the DLD of top level domain of .com. So the .com, you will come to know the answer for google.com, or you may know to whom you have to contact to get google.com's information. So that information will be forwarded to you, or the google.com will have, the .com will have, you will get the answer. Okay, there is another type called DNS regressor. The DNS regressor is nothing but your most of your ISP provided DNS servers, because your internet provider, whenever you get an internet connection, your internet provider will give you an IP address, right? Most of the time they will be DNS regressive servers, because that server get you an answer at any cost. They will give you an answer. The answer can be a valid IP address, or it can be, the server is not available. So you will get an answer in binary. Yes, the site is available. No, yes, the domain name is available. No, the domain name is not available. Those informations will be provided by this DNS regressor servers. They never get tired. They will try to get you the answer. They'll try very hard to get you the answer. That is what DNS regressor does. And authoritative name server is the authorized name server who is having an entry. Say, for an example, Google as a company, they have a big infrastructure. So they have their own DNS server. In their own server, they will create entry for everything, like google.com, youtube.com, and then mail.google.com, smtp.google.com. So these are all, I'm not sure whether they have an exact entry of these things, but these are all sample entries. So these informations will be available in your authoritative name server. Otherwise, if you create a host entry in your own computer, then you can say that your computer is also an authoritative name server for that specific domain name. Authoritative name server is not a single server or it's a group of server. It depends upon each and every company. Say for an example, the bigger company will have their own DNS servers, authoritative DNS servers, or some companies will give it to a third party like GoDaddy or any other website providers. I mean website creators, or it can give to any service based companies. So these are all the 4 different type of DNS servers. And then DNS records. So actually, yeah, right. So now you know the DNS server. What is how DNS is working? What is DNS server? So what will be there in the DNS server is records. Each and every DNS server will have records. The records can be a record or AA record, CNAME, MX, NX, or some other names which I couldn't explain in this video. But these are all very basic and important records that being a network or security engineer, you need. I mean, it is my opinion that this is enough for you to understand, right? So A records, it's a straightforward answer. It will give you an IPv4 address. Actually, this is what we all need is whenever we want to access any web application, we need an IP address. The IP address can be version 4 or version 6. So from A record, you will get version 4 informations only. You can, okay. So A record will contains version 4 information. Say for an example, google.com and its IP address. That's it. It's a straightforward answer. There is nothing different. I mean, this is how the DNS entry, I mean, A record will be created. And then A record, I mean, AA record, it is same as A record, but only difference is it will have IPv6 address. IPv6 contains decimal, I mean, hexadecimal number. So a public DNS entry will start with 2000, I guess, 2000 : So 1, this is an IPv6 address. This will be stored in an AA record. So if you want to create an AA record, you have to put IPv6 address, right? CNAME is canonical name, which is an alias for an actual domain name. So we people use the canonical name to access the actual domain. I mean, the actual domain name will be hidden from us. So from an application user or application developer, you will use only this word, apps.techie.com. But behind the screen, I will create a canonical record like apps.techie.com has to forward it to google.apps.com. So if you see here I'm not playing with any IP address. I'm using only a domain name. So this is what its function is, trying to hide or give an alias for your name, for your actual server. Okay. And then MX record. The MX record is very crucial in email servers. See, A record, AA record, and CNAMEs will be used by us, I mean a human. But MX record will be used by your Exchange server for email services. So say for an example, I'm using sending an email. So sending an email sending will be responsibility of SMTP. So your SMTP record will have an MX record. MX record is nothing but a domain name. This is also a domain name. It will not be an IP address. It will be a domain name. And then NX record. NX record is very crucial because it will have the DNS server, I mean authoritative DNS server for that domain. Say for an example, if you are looking for google.com, google.com will have its name server. The name server will have all the informations related to google.com. Say for an example, the URL can be star.google.com. I mean, it's not actually star. The reason why I'm keeping star is it can be anything. So it can be like mail.google.com, sftp.google.com, ftp.google.com, mail.google.com. So whatever it is, all these informations will be created in the name server record. I mean, see, the name server record will have a domain name. That domain name will be an IP address. I mean, that IP address will be referring a server. On that server, you will have DNS records. The records could be A or AA or C name. Everything will be stored in the name server. So the name server record is called ENS record. Okay. So let me show you a live example for google.com. So if you go to google.com and do a DNS lookup, so google.com is a domain name and it's an A record. The type is A, means A record. So here if you see, A record will have an IP address, right? It will have a four digit IP address. So here it is. It's a 4-digit IP address. Okay. And here it is. If you see ns2.google.com, this is the actual NS server, NS record. So the NX record is, this is what. So whatever, I mean, the google.com has been resolved from this server, or a regressive server find this information from ns2.google.com server. So ns2.google.com is a server which is having a DNS entry for google.com, and the google.com is falling back to the IP address of 172.217.13.238. So if you see in real time, so here it is. I'm just trying to, resolve the same. I'm not sure will it be displayed, so I'm just making it quite bigger. 1 second. So yeah, I hope now it will be visible for you all. So google.com. So google.com is resolving to IP address, right? So now what I'm going to do is ping-a google.com. So why I'm using -a, I will let you know. But for this example, just remember this. So when I use ping-a, I'm getting a domain name called MAA05. So what it is actually, it is an alias. It's a CNAME for google.com. So when you ping google.com, when you ping google.com, it's going to the same IP address, right? So google.com is a CNAME for, I mean, it can be a CNAME for this URL, which is MA05S06. It's just for an example, but don't try, google.com is having a CNAME of this one, but just for an understanding purpose, I'm giving you. So this NX record, so if you start using this NX record, you will get all the answers from an authoritative server. I mean, so whatever the DNS entries created, I mean, whatever the URL you are seeing at the ending with google.com, all these informations will be stored in NX record. So if you use like server, sorry, NX lookup, 1 second, NS lookup server. So if you try to resolve google.com, because that's the only entry, google.com, why it is not resolving? It's, sorry, I'm just messing up. So okay, sorry. So Google might use n number of security systems. So because of which I couldn't resolve using Google's NS server. Otherwise, what I'm using is now I'm just using a public domain server like 4.2.2 for my DNS query. So if you see here, I'm just getting a message called non-authoritative servers. So non-authoritative servers in the sense, this server 4.2.2 received a response from a different server and not from the Cisco's name server. This is what the non-authoritative server is. We got the information from a DNS server, which is available in this complete chain. Like, we saw that complete flow, right? Regressive servers. So the 4.2.2 might receive the Cisco's number from a non-authoritative server. So if you get any response from an authoritative server, that will be like, the final one. Say for an example, let me CLS, 1 second, DNS lookup. Okay, so OpenDNS is Cisco's actual DNS. Oh, why I'm not getting any OpenDNS request as well? Blogs.cisco.com. Okay, so still I'm using a non-authoritative server. So if you try to use any servers using a actual name server, then you will get authoritative answer. The answer will be like this: authoritative answer, name is equal to the server name, and you will get an IP address. So only when you start querying using the name server of that domain. Okay, so you can try it, but so far whatever I can see here is Google, and Google is blocking. So if you know some other sites which is under your scope, if you are managing the server, you can try this. This will not impact, but don't try to identify informations of others. Okay, so that is completely unacceptable, and we won't encourage it. And for MX record, mail change record, let us see. So a Gmail account will ends with gmail.com, right? Your Gmail ID will be gmail.com, right? In the same way, I'm just using the gmail.com, and I'm trying to see the MX lookup. This is what actual MX record created for your Gmail account. It might be Gmail-SMTP or anything, but the lowest preference will take more chances. The preference, if the preference is 5, then it tries to use this host name to resolve the to send the IP address. So MX record for Gmail is gmail-smtp inc-google.com. So if you try to see its DNS lookup, it will give you an IP address. That's it. This is what actually the A record, and MX record for Gmail is gmail.com's MX record is this is what. So in the same way you can try to get, the same way you can try to see your MX record. Okay, again, this is only for educational purpose or to understand the scenarios. Don't try to do this for any malicious activities, and if you get caught, we are not responsible for the same. Okay, and then the zone names. So now we see, this is how the DNS's records are stored, and this is how it has been used. So how these records are created? The records are created in two different zones. One is forward lookup zone. The second one is reverse lookup zone. So forward lookup zone is the one which is being used by us most of the time. So we are using this to convert a host name into an IP address. That's it. So whenever we are trying to access anything using an IP, using an application name, using a host name, then the forward lookup zone will take the performance and it will try to get us an IP address. So if you want to know the domain name for an IP address, then this is what you have to do: ping-a. It will do a reverse lookup. From the IP address, it will try to get the host name. So that is what I did. I try to see, I try to ping-a with a host with an IP address. It gave me a different name. If there is any entry available, we will get the reverse lookup. So yeah, I have a what do you call it? They have a reverse lookup created for this IP address 34, and that 34 IP addresses Google user content.com. So it's very simple. It's really nice. Cisco is using Google. Thanks. So these are all, just for again and again, I'm just putting a disclaimer that don't do this for any malicious activities. Okay, so that's it there in the DNS records. And what are all the query messages available in DNS? There are 3 different queries. One is regressive queries. It will be created by your DNS server. So DNS server will create a regressive queries to get you an answer, binary answer. The answer should be binary. Either you have a valid IP, it has to return with a valid IP, or it has to return with the content of host name not available. Host name is not available. So this is what it does generally. And iterative query is It is same as regressive query, but it will not work much hard. It will try to give you a best answer. Say for an example, if you are looking for google.com, so it will give you the top level domain TLD information for .com, or it may give you the name server of Google. So you can contact this authoritative name server to get the actual IP address of whatever the domain name you would like to do, but I won't do it on behalf of you. That is what iterative query is. Non-regressive query is a query which is being directed to an authoritative server, because authoritative server will have, I mean, a name server. Name server will be the authoritative server, which means it is having the entry for google.com. So name server of google.com will have an entry for mail.google.com, right? So if I know the name server, why I am going to ask for a regressive query? I know, see, google.com is the sole owner, so you have to know answer for mail.google.com. If you don't know, then nobody knows. So in such cases, we use non-regressive queries. So these queries are made with an intention of getting an answer on a single hop. So we will get an answer in single hop. We may get an answer in n hop, like we don't know how long it has to query for a DNS server until it reaches its TTL value expire. So most probably it should be it should have a TTL value. So until the time, it will keep on roll over the internet. But non-regressive queries, it will be answered in a single hop. That's it. So if you want to know about DNS attacks, what are all the DNS attacks are available, what are all the things are affect DNS queries and response, please stay tuned. We will come back with the video which will talks about DNS attacks and its remediations. So thanks for watching us, and please do subscribe us and encourage us with your subscribes and likes and shares. Thank you.